Get this brought up on my laptop over here. Make sure everything is all lined up and even and all good. And let's bring this up. Okay, so let me kind of move this a little bit here to get things kind of straight and lined up. Okay, so welcome everybody. I'll bring this down just a tiny bit and see what we got. Okay, things actually look good. So let's get started. So hello everybody, this is Carla and welcome back to the studio. And thank you for joining me for another episode of Throwback Thursday. Throwback Thursdays are where I pull out my retired product and I create two projects using that. So for this episode, I'll be using the Rustic Crate bundle. So this recently retired from our last annual catalog. Really nice set. Was kind of late in getting this one, basically before it was retired. So you in this set you got kind of like your fall and your spring and your Christmas kind of covered in the set. So you have your stamped images with some really nice mixed fonts on the greetings. And then for the dies, you do have dies that die cut these stamped images. And then you also have a couple of other other dies in here too, to where you can create the crate. You got a hello, and you got some of the hardware right there that you can put on the crate as well. So with this one, again, it is retired product. I did check the website because we do have a lot of things in our last chance product, but the Rustic Crate, that is gone. Basically, everything that's retired is no longer available on what I'm using for these projects. So one of the things that I do want to bring up before I get started, today is September 18th. If you are watching this when I post it, it's posted at 5 a.m. on September 18th. So for today only, 24 hours. It'll go until 11:59 p.m. Mountain Time. So whatever your time zone is in regards to Mountain Time, this is how long the sale is going to go for. So it is 15% off on stamps and stamp tools. This does not include those stamps that are in the last chance products listing. In addition to the stamps, and it also does not include the bundles as well, just the individual stamp sets. This includes things, stamp sets that are in the online exclusives in our current annual catalog, and then also our newly released September through December mini catalog. So, in addition to those stamps, the stamp tools that are included, there are clear acrylic blocks like you see in this image here. The Stampin' Mist for cleaning the stamps, along with our Stampin' Scrub, the chamois, the piercing mat, the clear stamp cases, which are basically these cases right here, but doesn't have like this paper insert on them. Also, there is the grid paper. So this grid paper right here that I use, and the masking paper. So the masking paper is kind of neat if you want to do some ink blending on, say, your piece of cardstock and you want to kind of mask off a certain area, or say if you want to stamp images, like say next to each other, you stamp one and then you want to stamp it again on this masking paper, and then you can put it over that and then kind of stamp over it, kind of to give some depth in your stamped images, you know, having an image look like it's behind the other. So those are the tool items, the stamp tool items that are also included in the sale. I do have up on the very top of well, you have the dimensions of all the cardstock that I am using that's in the description. Just underneath that, it is like that very first paragraph that has the link that will take you to the online store where you will see all of the items that are part of this sale. So again, this is only going to last for 24 hours. So 11:59 p.m. tonight, Mountain Time here on September 18th. That's how long the sale is going to be. So after that, the sale is over. Let me see if there's anything else. I did send out a newsletter that has this another newsletter. Let me rephrase that, because I did do one at the beginning of the month with everything that's kind of going on. I just sent, well, I sent it out last night, another modified newsletter that talks about that stamp sale. Plus, also, there is going to be an offering. It is a 12-day Advent calendar. This is something new that Stampin' Up! Has come out with. And the ordering on that will start on September 23rd. So kind of like that's a couple of days out yet, but I did include that in the newsletter. My newsletter, I typically do only one a month. However, when there's some kind of sale promotion going on, I will send another one. Um, I don't know the stuff, you know, when I do it at the beginning of the month, so it's kind of like a surprise for us too. So that is the only time that I may send out another newsletter for that particular month. So in the description, there is a link if you would like to receive my newsletters. If you click on that, all you have to do is enter your first and last name and your email address. And then once you're added to my newsletter list, then I can send out, you know, future newsletters as well. Uh, with that, I think that's all I have. Well, there is one thing that I will mention. Tomorrow night, Friday the 19th, I will be going live right here at 7 p.m. I will be what was it, my Friday night lives. I will be featuring the Gathering Together suite. This is a new suite that just came out in our September online exclusives. So it looks like it's a very fun suite. And I will be doing a little bit of something extra with that one as well. So there's going to be a few bonus cards that I make in that live. And what do I want to say? I'm sorry. So I'm going to be doing a really cool technique that I had done a while back, and it received a lot of positive feedback. It was also the technique that kind of made my channel here kind of grow. So yeah, so a little surprise that's going to be in with those cards that I make, which also means that there'll be like three extra cards too for my giveaway, which I do on Fridays. At the very end, I do a wheel of names, and I do a giveaway where you can win one of the cards that I make that night. So that'll be tomorrow night at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time right here. So if you would like to join us, we would love to have you. Okay, so let me do this. Let me kind of minimize things here, and let me bring up my stuff that will be in the, what do you call it, in the description. I don't have that stuff put in here quite yet, but I do need to know what my dimensions are going to be. So bear with me while I kind of resize this so I can see it on my screen. Okay, so let me bring in everything that we're going to be using for our first card. And I did a little bit of die cutting and also a little bit of stamping as well ahead of time. So for this first card, I have a piece of early espresso. This measures 8.5 by 5.5. I've scored it at 4.25. I have a piece of the inked Botanicals Designer Series paper. This measures 5.5 by 3. This is the pack of paper. It was in an annual catalog, I think like 2 years ago. In here we got Calypso Coral, Crushed Curry, Lost Lagoon, Petal Pink, and Pool Party. So I used one of the patterns out of here. And again, that measures 5.5 by 3. Then this is the 2023 to 2025 in color luster specialty paper. This is wild wheat. This measures 4.5 by 1. And I'll show you the whole pack. So these in colors here, it's kind of going off of the glare of the lights, but this is boho blue. There's also what else is in here? So there's boho blue, copper clay, moody mauve, pebbled path, and wild wheat, which is what we are using on this card. And again, that's 4.5 by 1 inch. Then out of a scrap of crumb cake, there is a die that's in the set of dies that will die cut some gardening gloves. So we did that in crumb cake cardstock. And then with basic white, a scrap of basic white, I have die cut the square. This is the largest square that's in the Stylish Shapes set of dies. And then I stamped this image, the one with like the herbs. This is stamped in early espresso. I've die cut it, and then I'm going to color this in using Stampin' Blends. So both of the cards that I am doing, there's going to be some coloring with Stampin' Blends. So the process, it'll take just a little bit of time, you know, doing the coloring. So hopefully my video won't go extremely long, but we'll see how it goes. So I'm going to fold and I'm going to burnish that. And then I'm going to take this Designer Series paper. I'm going to bring in my liquid glue. This is the Tombow multi-purpose glue. I just put it in one of these fine tip glue bottles. I do get these off of Amazon. The thing with this glue is that it has a latex in it, so you don't need much at all. It sticks very, very well. And yeah, so the link to get, I think it was a pack of 10 bottles. I have that in the description. The list of supplies actually in the description of the video. So I'm going to take this and I'm going to try and center this like so. Kind of get it lined up. And it may just be a little bit longer, or maybe it'll be even. Let's see. Well, there's a little bit there. So what I do when there's like a little bit of paper that overhangs on the edge, what I do is I bring in my little mini guillotine trimmer. This was a trimmer that was one of the offerings quite a few years ago when we had Celebration. Celebration is, well, no more Celebration. Stampin' Up! Had made the announcement a couple of months ago that Celebration will be no more, but they are replacing it with something else where you can earn some product. I think it's either every month or every quarter, one of the two. So yeah, that will be starting up in December. So more info about that coming soon. Okay. So then I'm going to take, let's see, I'm going to take this strip of this luster paper. I'm going to bring in my banners, pick a punch, and I'm going to flag the ends of these. So I'm going to use this particular one right here. So I'm going to take this, I'm going to slide this all the way in. So it's the same on both sides. So I'll slide this in. I'm going to slide it all the way in, like so, and we'll punch that end. And then we'll flip this over and you will punch the other end. Like so. Okay, then I'm going to take my seal here and I am going to add some to the back here. And what I want to do is I want to take this piece here and I kind of place it where I want it to be. And then I am going to move that out of the way. And I'm going to place this down. So this piece again was cut at 5.5. So by the time you stick this all the way into the punch and punch it out, it will then line up perfectly from edge to edge on the card base. And then this piece, we'll place this right over the top like so. All right, so on here, what I do want to do, I want to do some stamping on here. So I'm going to stamp my greeting. So I want the good things take time. And I'm going to stamp that in my Espresso ink. So let me pull that out. Kind of put this aside. And get my early Espresso ink. Now with this being a photopolymer stamp set, I want to bring in my piercing mat. So basically it's just a foam mat. This too will be on sale. That doesn't cost too much. I think it's like $5. So an extra 15% off makes it a much better deal on getting supplies. All right, so let's ink this up. And I will stamp this right on the bottom. I do like this script font. That's a really nice font. And then of course you got the mix. You got the script and the print. Okay, so we'll set that aside and we'll also put that aside. And we'll take this, move this. I'm going to bring in a piece of scrap paper. We are going to be coloring with blends, so I don't want, the blends will end up bleeding through the cardstock a little bit, so I want to kind of protect my grid paper. I mean, the grid paper is there, you know, so you don't get anything on the table, but yeah, I want to try and keep this kind of clean as long as I can. So for this, I am going to use my dark wild wheat. I have both my light and dark copper clay. Then I have dark Lost Lagoon. And then I also have my dark Old Olive. So those are the colors that I'm going to use for this image. So I'm going to take my wild wheat. I want to color this one over here. These were really nice in colors. I was sad when they retired because they were really great colors for fall. And what's really interesting is that, you know, this color, Wild Wheat, is one of those colors that there were a lot of people that really didn't like this color. However, it was also like the first color of cardstock that ended up selling out first before the catalog had retired. So I was a little bummed that I wasn't able to really get any more of this before it was gone, but I don't know, maybe one day down the road, every so many years, Stampin' Up! Does do a color refresh of their colors, and there are times that colors do make their way back into the core color collection. And then there's also times when it's been an in color, it may come back as an in color again. We do see that. As a matter of fact, Lost Lagoon. I think Lost Lagoon and, well, this isn't Mossy Meadow, that's Old Olive, but Lost Lagoon and Mossy Meadow were actually two colors that were um, in the in color collection at the same time a few years ago, and they have both now made their way back into the core color collection. So pretty cool. So you never know. And now current in colors, what is it? Strawberry Slush used to be an in color, so that came back as well. So yeah, so things could end up coming back again. So we'll see what happens. All right, now for this plant over next to it, I'm going to do that. I'm going to color this in light copper clay. The one thing when you stamp this, on the basic white, the cardstock does have a coating on it. And early espresso is one of those colors that you do need to let it dry completely before you start coloring, or the ink will start, it'll end up smearing when you go to color it. So for the Stampin' Blend markers, which are Stampin' Up's alcohol markers, they usually say use Memento ink. That is a dye-based ink, but you can also use your Stampin' Up inks as well. The classic Stampin' pads, they are a dye-based ink. Now you would not use StazOn and use your blends. That will not work because that is a solvent-based ink, and so the alcohol, if you use alcohol markers on that, then you're just going to end up smearing that ink. So, but yeah, you can use any of your colors instead of using black. Early Espresso is a really good color to use to stamp your images and then color them in. Okay, so I'm going to let this one dry, and then I'm going to come in with the dark copper clay, and I'll go over those veins. But to get a really nice blend with the Stampin' Blends, usually you want to do it while the ink is still wet, but at the same time you want to be careful that you don't overdo it in some spots because your ink could end up bleeding outside of your stamp line. So I'm going to let that dry completely instead of like blending it, you know, where it has a nice blend. What I'm going to do is I'm going to let that dry, and then I'll come in with my dark copper clay, and then I'll go over those veins. Okay, so now this one, I'm going to bring in my dark Lost Lagoon. And there's all these little itty bitty tiny leaves. And when your stamped images are kind of small like this, it's a little hard to do any blending on them. Yeah, so tomorrow, this kind of came to me earlier in the week. So usually I just create 3 cards, but when I really looked at the stamp set, um, yeah, I thought, you know what, I can end up doing that technique that I did like a year ago. And yeah, I thought that I needed to do it again because it is the type of technique where if you want to, build up your stash of cards, it's really a great technique. It's the one sheet wonder. So I take one piece of white cardstock. I kind of draw my lines, to make like 4 quadrants on it. And then what I do is I do my stamping along those pencil lines, and then I then cut it into 4 pieces and it becomes 4 cards. So the stamp set that I'm using for that has these really nice leaf images that will make it, it'll work well with that technique. So now this last one here, I'm going to do my dark old olive. Yeah, so that, with that one technique, it's going to create 4 cards, but I'm going to do the other 2 as well. So there'll be 2 cards using, uh, like the designer series paper and all the other things that are part of the suite. And then the one sheet wonder is basically going to be the stamps, and cut them apart, add a greeting and some embellishment, and yeah, you have 4 cards at once. And the stamped, there are some really cool stamped images of leaves that are in that stamp set that'll be perfect for that technique. I did do one, it was, what was it? Was it a Christmas in July, or it was a monthly Christmas card inspiration that I did? I think it was July of last year. And there was a lot of views on it. And yeah, that's where also the subscription growth on my channel, like it exploded. Like that month I think I gained like 300 some odd new subscribers. So evidently a lot of people really like that technique. So we'll see what happens after Friday's video. Okay, so now I'm going to go back in with my dark copper clay, and I'm just going to go right over these veins. I'm not doing anything fancy. Just kind of like going over these lines like so. All right, so let me get those out of the way. And then I'm going to take this piece here. I'm going to add some dimensionals to the back. And let's see. Add a couple on here. Okay, remove these backings. All right, and then I'm going to bring in my die cut piece here. And I'm going to place this. I'm going to use my grid paper to kind of line it up. I will place this right there. Okay, and then I'm going to bring in some linen thread. And then I'm also going to bring in some Scotch tape. So what I want to do is I want to take my linen thread, I want to wrap it around this piece a few times. So I'm going to put this right across, like where all these roots are on these plants. And let's pull some of this down. Okay, so I want to line it up about there. Okay. And then on the back, I tape that down. Okay, and then I'm just going to wrap this around like 3 times, like so. And then I'll flip it over, get another piece of tape, and we'll put that on there like so. Okay, and then let me get my scissors, and I'll trim that. Okay, and then what I want to do is I'm going to take my dimensionals, I'm going to add some to the back of this. Okay, let's take these off. All right, and then let me bring in my card, and I'm going to take this and place this right over the top of my banner like so. And then I'm going to take these 2 gloves. I'm going to add, let's see, I'm going to bring in, I think I can use my glue on this. So I'm going to take one of these gloves, add a little bit of glue, and then I'm going to add one of these gloves right over here. I'm going to stick that down, and then I'm going to bring in a dimensional for my other one. And we'll put that right on there. It just fits on the back of that. Okay, and then this one is going to kind of be popped up right on top like so. And then I'm going to bring in my linen thread again, and I'm going to tie a double-stranded bow. So let me get good enough sized piece. Okay, we'll put that in there. And I'll tie my bow. Like so. So we don't need it too big. Okay, and then I'll cut that. And then I'm going to cut these other strands so the tails are about the same. And then I'll bring in my glue dots. And let's add one to the back of our bow. And I'll wrap this glue dot back behind on itself because it is a little bit bigger than the knot on my bow. Okay, so we have that. We got one more thing to do to this. We do have to add some kind of bling to the card. So I am going to use, these are the 2023 to 2025 in color dots. and very pretty. So you got Pebble Path, Wild Wheat, Moody Mauve, Copper Clay, and Boho Blue. So on this, I'm going to use my Copper Clay colored one. So there are 3 different sizes in these embellishments. So I'm going to add one of the larger ones up there. And then, let's see, let me take the smaller one first. I'll put one there, and then the medium sized one I'll place right there. Okay, so there is the first card. So very pretty, using that herb image in there. I really like that, and the color combination I think goes very, very well together. So again, dark wild wheat for that. I used the light and dark copper clay on this one, the dark Lost Lagoon, and then dark Old Olive on that one. Okay, so that is our first card. Now let me get the stuff for our second card. Okay, again, I did do some stuff ahead of time just to save some time. So for my card base, I have a piece of Mossy Meadow that measures 8.5 by 5.5, scored at 4.25. I have a piece of copper clay. Now this is 5.25 by 4, and ahead of time I had used the exposed brick 3D embossing folder. This embossing folder is still available in the annual catalog, so I embossed that ahead of time. And then out of a scrap piece of basic white, I die cut this larger rectangle. This is from the Nested Essentials, so it's the larger die out of that shape. And that is still an available set of dies. Then I also took the image that has the pumpkin and the sunflowers and corn on it. I stamped this too in early espresso ink, and then I had die cut it ahead of time. And then in the set of dies, there are these detailed dies that you can create the crate. So it'll cut it out. It'll also give you your score lines. So I die cut this out of early espresso cardstock. All right, so let me take my card base and fold that, and we will adhere that embossed piece down. Let me see, I got stuff all over the place over here. So I'll do that. Okay, and then I'm going to get some of my liquid glue. And again, with this glue, you don't need much. It does stick very, very well. Okay, so I'm going to center that right there like so. Okay, and I will set that aside. Then I'm going to bring in, let's see, my Pierce mat. And I'm going to stamp my greeting on the bottom of this. So for this one, I am going to use Blessed Beyond Measure. And one of the colors that I am using to color in my image, I got that ink. So I have Timid Tiger. This is one of the new in colors. And let me get my block. And let me ink that up. And this will fit perfectly right down here on the bottom of this die cut. There we go. So there is our greeting. So I'll set that aside. We're going to build our crate, if I can remember what things are called. I will assemble my crate that will go on there, and then I'll also color my image, which that will then go into the crate as well. So let me move this, and you know what, let's go ahead and put together our crate. So for the front, you have this detailed wood grain in this die. And then for this one, this is kind of like the back side and the inside of your crate. So again, when you die cut it, it does have these lines that are in there, so that helps you in gluing your crate together. So just fold on those score lines and fold this one up, and then fold this one, and then this one, and then I will use my bone folder and just burnish down those score lines, make it a little bit easier to kind of glue this together. Okay, so now that we got that, we're going to take our liquid glue and we're going to add just a little bit on these tabs. You don't need much. Okay, and then I'm going to take my crate here, the front of my crate. I'm going to line that up right over those tabs and press that down. Now I do have in my little thing here, I do have some little clothespins, so I'm going to take those and kind of put that on there so it holds it down. Okay, and then on the bottom here. Okay, and then we'll get a couple for the bottom as well. Okay, so one there, one there. Okay, so now we're going to set this aside. It won't take long for it to dry, but in the meantime, what we can do is we can go ahead and color in our image. So let me close this up. I think we're done with the glue now because the rest of this stuff is really going to be popped up. Okay, so let me get my scrap paper and then let's color this in. So I am going to start off with, I don't need all of these colors, so let me kind of look at what I used here. All right, so for my sunflowers, I'm going to use the light and dark Darling Duckling. That is a new ink color as well. I think I'm going to use my dark copper clay for the center. I'm going to use light wild wheat for my corn, and then light old olive. Let's see, wait. Yeah, light old olive for the corn stalks, and then I'm going to use my light mossy meadow for the leaves of my pumpkin, well, the sunflowers actually. And let's see, what else do I got here? What other colors? So I have my light timid tiger, and I think I'm using the dark, I'm looking at the sample one that I did. So the dark copper clay, I think I'm going to use, yeah, I think it's going to be the flower centers. I'll use the light on the pumpkins for the shadow. The dark wild wheat, we're not using. The dark old olive and the Lost Lagoon, we're not using that either. Okay, so I'm going to start with my light wild wheat. And I'm going to come in and color my corn. Okay. And then I'm going to take, let's see, my dark copper clay. I'm going to color the centers of these sunflowers. Let's see. All right, so light old olive. I'm going to do the corn stalks, the leaves on that. Okay, and I think we got all of that. Okay, and then I was using light mossy meadow for these larger leaves here. Let's see, that leaf goes right there. Okay, and then we got two more right here over these two pumpkins. Okay. And then we are going to take the light Darling Duckling, and I'm going to color in these sunflowers. Okay, so I'm going to color the whole thing in. Okay, and then we got this other one over here. Okay, so we got those. And then I think what I'm going to do is take my light timid tiger, and then I'm going to come in and color both of these pumpkins. Kind of go around these petals of my sunflowers. And what I'm going to do is, after this Darling Duckling has had some time to dry, I'm going to come in with this light timid tiger, and I'm going to kind of add a little bit of that towards around the center of that. And then for the shadows on these pumpkins, I'm going to use, I think I'm going to use light copper clay on that. Okay, now I kind of come in here. And just add some timid tiger. Like so. All right, and then let's see. Do we want light or we want dark? Let's try light first and see how this works. Okay, the light will work. So I'm just going over these lines here that the artist put in the image. Okay, kind of go around. And then I'll come under these petals a little bit. Now a lot of what you see like towards the bottom here, you're really not going to see it because it's going to be tucked in that crate. Okay, I think we're good. That like so. Okay, so we got the coloring done on that. Okay, so now let's take our card and let's assemble our card. So let me take my clothespins off of here. Okay, put that there. So now we got our little crate, and there's a little bit of dimension, so you can put, so I can tuck that in there. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take some dimensionals, and I'm going to add them like towards the bottom here. Okay, and then I'm going to tuck these, actually, not yet. I'm going to take some glue, and I'm going to glue my crate down first. Okay, so it's in there. All right, and then I'm going to line my crate up, kind of like these flat edges. Have them kind of even. Have them straight with the edge, like so. Okay, so that's down, and then I'm going to take my stamp, my colored image, and I'm going to tuck that in, kind of like as far as I can go. And as you can see, you're not really going to see what I've colored on the very bottom there. So there is our pumpkins and our sunflowers and corn in our really pretty detailed crate there. Okay, so let me close up this glue since we're done with that. And then I want to take this, so this is going to go kind of like in the middle here. What I want is some of my seal, and I'm going to add some seal right there. And then I'm going to bring in, this is the black and white gingham ribbon. We had black and very vanilla. That's a little bit wider. I think that one was 3/8 of an inch, I think. And what I want to do is I'm going to zigzag this on the back. So let me see how big of a piece I need. Okay, so I'm going to cut about this much. Okay, and then want to zigzag this, have it about equal. I think we're good there, and then I'm going to place that right there, and hopefully I got it centered, and this will go right over the top of that. So I'm going to pop this up, and for this I'll put one in each corner and then put one in the middle so it's not all saggy. Okay, and then I'll place this right here. And then I'm going to take my snips and I'm going to cut an angle on the ends of my ribbon, like so. And then we're going to add some bling. We're going to use those same embellishments. This time I'm going to use the wild wheat. Now I only got like 3 of the really small ones, so instead of using one of each size, I'm going to use one of the large and then 2 of the medium on this. So I'm going to add one of the larger ones up there, and then 2 of the mediums right down here like so. Okay, so there is my second card. So I try to utilize all the products that are, you know, in a bundle or in a suite when I create my cards. So I've done the images and I've colored those in. I've die cut some of, you know, the more detailed, so the garden gloves, and then our crate here that we put together, so it kind of adds a little bit of dimension there. So there are the 2 cards using the Rustic crate bundle. If you like the projects that I have made in this Throwback Thursday, please give the video a thumbs up. And if you are new and you haven't already subscribed to my channel, if you like the projects, I also have a whole lot more videos out there. I think I got like, this makes 287, I think. And so there's a lot of video content out there with a lot of different products that I have used. And this goes all the way back, I think, to September, sometime in September of 2023. So subscribe to the channel and then hit that little notification bell as well, because that'll let you know when I post a new video or when I go live. And again, I want to bring this up one more time, since this is the only day that this sale is going to be going on for. The 24-hour 15% off of stamps and stamp tools sale. This will end at 11:59 p.m. tonight Mountain Time. So whatever time zone that you're in, kind of calculate that off Mountain Time. Again, it's all this. I do have a link that that's in the description, that if you click on that, that is going to take you into the online store page where it'll have all the products that are part of the sale. So again, it's not on bundles. It's only stamp sets, and these are stamp sets that are in our current annual catalog, our new holiday mini catalog, and also online exclusives. And If there's any stamp sets that are in the last chance products area of the online store, it does not include those stamps. Now, as far as tools go, it's your blocks, your Stampin' Mist, your Stampin' Scrub, your piercing mat, the clear stamp cases, the Stampin' Chamois, the grid paper, and the masking paper. Those are items too that are included in this sale. And again, it's only for 24 hours, so 11:59 p.m. tonight Mountain Time is when this will end. And then again, tomorrow I will also be going live at 7 p.m. right here on this channel, and I will be featuring the Gathering Together suite. This is a new fall suite that came out in our September online exclusives. So I hope that you'll be able to join me. And if you're not able to, there'll always be the replay. And I am going to create two projects that's going to use a lot of the product, like designer series paper, and there's an embossing folder. There's some really cool dies in there. I'm going to do a little bit of stitching as well. And then I'm going to do that one sheet wonder technique too. So there's going to be extra cards to give away tomorrow night. So hope that you'll be able to join me for that. Until then, everybody, be safe and have a blessed one, and I will see you later. Bye bye.